Recorded Books Inspirational presents an unabridged recording of A Heart for Home by Lauraine Snelling, narrated by Stina Nielsen, and directed by Ruth Christensen. Recorded Books is the producer and publisher of Recorded Books Inspirational, an imprint dedicated to stories of faith and the human spirit. And now, A Heart for Home.
Chapter 1. July, 1904. Rosebud Indian Reservation, South Dakota. How can people live like this? Farr takes better care of his animals.
Doctor, we will get someone to clean this teepee.
Thomas Moore, the Indian agent, stood beside her.
I will find help.
So why haven't you done so before this? Dr. Astrid Bjorklund clutched the handle of her black leather bag, the universal accoutrement carried by all in her profession. She felt like lancing him with recriminations, but knew that would not help. At least he was trying to help now. Better late than never. The stench was the worst she had ever smelled, other than gangrene. Let's take the 2 women and the child into the building we've already cleaned. We'll bathe them first in the other teepee and leave their clothing to be washed.
They most likely have nothing else to wear.
Then we will cover them with the halves of sheets. When they are better, they can have their clothing back all clean. Astrid knelt beside the elder of the women, listened to her lungs, and checked her eyes. She was barely responsive. The younger woman looked to be halfway through her pregnancy. The small child's bones poked up through the blanket. All were hot to the touch. It was all she could do not to break into tears. Even the tenements of Chicago had not been this terrible. How many more do I have yet to see?
I'd say you're half done.
Mr. Moore had not come into the teepee, but spoke from the entrance. Astrid and her helpers had arrived 3 days earlier to a warm reception on the young agent's part, but a decidedly cool one from the Indians. After the chief, Dark Cloud, had greeted them, he had ignored her and talked instead in his very broken English with her father, Håkon Bjorklund, and Pastor Solberg. It was only because of her acquaintance with Dr. Redhawk, whom she'd befriended during her training at the hospital in Chicago, that the chief was willing to accept their assistance. The group had spent the first 2 days scrubbing the single building that had a stove and windows, a roof and a floor. Or rather, the men had cleaned while she had started checking on the ill. They had moved the supplies, which had been donated by the people of Blessing, into the building, and were now doling those out. Håkon had a huge iron kettle of soup cooking on a tripod over a fire outside, so they could feed broth to those too weak to eat solid food. They'd not accosted the Indian agent yet as to why the people were starving. Where were the promised government supplies? How many have died? Astrid asked Mr. Moore.
I'm not sure. They don't always tell me.
She swallowed her, "Why did you not ask?" and stepped out of the teepee and into the sunshine, relief at breathing clean air almost making her giddy. God, these are your children too. Why are they suffering like this? How do we make a difference here? Give me wisdom and guidance. 2 of the steers they'd brought from home had been slaughtered, and the meat passed out to the families, along with flour and beans. They kept a guard on the chickens and hogs that were in side-by-side pens so that no one would steal them. Granted, it would be some time before there were hogs ready to slaughter, but getting breeding stock going was imperative. The eggs were being kept for those too sick to eat meat. Samuel Knutson, along with a young Indian boy, was weaving a roof of willow branches to keep the hawks from claiming the chickens. Håkon and an Indian brave moved the older woman to a litter, and, after settling her in the teepee for washing, came back for the younger woman and the child. An old Indian woman who had not succumbed to the disease would then bathe them with soap and warm water. Astrid looked into the next teepee. Empty. Did that mean everyone had died? Or were some people hiding from them? Red Hawk, you didn't begin to tell me how bad this was. Or didn't you know?
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.